This may be the dumbest idea I've ever had.
Hey, bro, catch a game last night?
Totally, bro. Roller coaster of emotion. How you doing, man?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing pretty awesome. Hey,
Oh, man.
quick question for you. Do you want to like become ambidextrous with me and stuff?
Yo, sign me up.
So like I'm thinking all of tomorrow we just like go full left hand the whole day, like everything. What do you think?
Full lefty?
Yeah.
Oh, man. For, like, everything.
Everything you would normally use your right hand for.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I mean, what's behind this?
So basically I'm making a YouTube video about it.
Okay.
And misery loves company, so I figured I would drag you into it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I'd be down.
You and I live most of our waking lives in something called the autonomous phase of mind. This is basically autopilot, habits that are done automatically. As with most things in life, you don't really realize how much you depend on something until you take it away. That's exactly what I experienced. I immediately realized that this was going to be a very long day. So by kicking ourselves out of this autonomous phase, we're teaching our brains how to learn something new, how to appreciate certain things that we kind of took for granted, and to become better at adapting and switching between autopilot and cognitive thinking and learning how to do that well, because that's really, really important as you go throughout life. Some things take full concentration, other things don't. And so you just, need to switch into autopilot so you're not using up all of your mental capacity for that. I think a highly effective person needs to be very adaptable, where they can like step in and out of challenging situations and bend in the directions that they need to go. And this is the second thing I'm trying to teach my brain how to do, is be more adaptable, which is not easy to do, believe it or not. Also, writing left-handed is really hard, just in case you were wondering. Oh, wow, this is really bad. So the reason why I want this is the more we adapt and stretch our brain, the more we build on the connections that are already in our brain, and the more connections we make, and the larger our brain grows. Literally, our brain grows in size the more we stretch it, which is kind of cool. The problem is that most times our brain tries to keep us in routine, in the things that it's comfortable with. Just out of self-preservation. We're trying to conserve energy because our days can be exhausting. And so doing something like this just absolutely throws a huge wrench in the gears, which is awesome. And the crazy thing is that we have around 70 to 80,000 thoughts per day. Of those 70 to 80,000 thoughts, about 90 to 95% of them, psychologists believe, are the same thoughts as we had yesterday. So a lot of our day is actually in repeat, and we're just rethinking the thoughts that we already had. Habits are good, very, very good, because it removes a lot of mental strain and a lot of conscious choice from our day. It conserves a lot of energy, which is really nice. What happens is when we do that for too long, we get very stuck in a rut, I guess, as it were, and we get very complacent, and our comfort zone and things start to shrink in around us because we only do what we're used to, what we're comfortable with. And if you live a lifestyle where you never push yourself outside of your comfort zone, and you never push yourself beyond what you are comfortable doing or think you can do, then your life will slowly close in around you, and it will slowly suffocate you. Because nothing is more enjoyable than like coming up to a challenge and just like stepping into it and being confident that you can learn how to do it. And this is kind of the beauty of neuroplasticity, which is basically meaning the ability for your brain to make or remove connections in your brain. Your thoughts and what's happening in your brain is just a lot of connections. It's your brain wiring and rewiring itself as you go. And what happens, this is the coolest, craziest thing ever. I never knew this about neuroplasticity until recently, but neuroplasticity has a serious dark side to it. Meaning that if you don't continuously grow your brain and force it to create new connections, it will actually prune and cut off existing connections that are not being used, which is really, really scary. So your brain will literally shrink in size. It will get smaller as it prunes and cuts off the connections. So your ability to go from A to Z Instead of having, 50,000 ways of doing that, you now have, 250 ways of doing that. And that's a significant difference. You can still go from A to Z, but if something gets thrown in the mix of, now you have to learn how to do this other skill over here. Your brain works on association. So if you have nothing to link this other skill with in your working database, then it's gonna be so much harder to learn it because you have nothing to gauge it off of. Like for example, if I go to learn a new instrument, I already have a pretty solid foundation on piano and guitar and things like that I know the music fundamentals and scales and all of that, and so that is a working foundation. So when a new instrument comes into the mix, I can be like, okay, this combination of whatever is the same as if on a piano I hit this and this and this. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Now I have something to link it to in my brain. But there again, that's what I'm saying. Like if you remove all those connections and you slowly lose those connections, it makes learning harder and harder and harder. And so this is just an extreme version of that. It's saying like, hey, brain, you're really used to being stuck in autopilot with your right hand. We're just gonna throw that all out the window and see how good you are at adapting. And so far it's been really interesting. I'm actually surprised with how decent I can write. Check it out. Pretty great, right? You probably can't even read what I'm saying. Takes forever to write anyway. But that's one thing that I've been learning so far. That's pretty cool. Oh, I keep forgetting. Like, seriously, this is so hard. I'm like trying to use my phone. I'm like, I gotta be using my left hand. Also, it is really hard to run a computer with your left hand. I don't know if you've ever tried that or not, or like your non-dominant hand. I'm just like, man. I hate when people say that they can't learn new things. Like, don't ever say you can't learn something because you're already creating a boundary and a restriction on yourself. But like something like this, it just really shows you like, it's hard to be conscious enough to actually learn something like that. So I'm gonna have to watch myself, but I'm still super passionate about that. Don't ever say you cannot learn something, because that's like the first step in you not being able to learn it. So anyway, I just, it's like when you get your grandma like a smartphone and they're like, it's kind of how I feel. It's amazing how hard it is to stay focused on this task. Like, I'm just like here, I'm just trying to work, and like all the time my brain is like wrestling between like switching back and forth, and I'm like constantly catching myself like even just like running my computer left-handed is just so bizarre. And that's kind of part of the goal, like it's my goal to be more present, to be more here. Doing something like this is constantly grounding me, like always bringing me back to like, oh wait, no, hold on, gotta switch. And I'm really glad that I'm not staying in this autopilot mode, because that, like, it's hard to learn in autopilot. When Dr. Erickson, he's a psychologist that studied like the science of learning and like becoming a master in your craft. And one of the things he talks about is this thing of we get into this autopilot mode, and it's very, very difficult to learn when we do that, because our brains have learned it enough that they just do it for us and we don't really stay conscious. And so by doing this, it forces me to stay conscious throughout my day, which I really, really like. And then stuff sticks out to me more and I'm more aware of things. And kind of the purpose of this specific part of it is stepping out of autonomy mode is to teach myself how to switch between the two, where I can go from, being an autopilot, running and doing something like editing or whatever. Like it's exhausting and I kind of need to preserve energy as I do it, and then switch into this high functioning, focused, cognitive mode where I'm learning something new and I'm problem solving and all this stuff is happening inside of my brain. And being able to switch between those two is really difficult at first, but it's really important. As you'll see in the video, the three main things I'm trying to learn with this is stepping out of autonomy mode, and the other one is teaching my brain to be more pliable. And that one really came with writing. Wow, that, yeah. Felt my brain like stretching in weird ways. And then the last one is grit, or determination, sticking with it. That's, wow, it is, because it is so frustrating. It is like so frustrating doing this. Like, and I think the driving force behind this specific one of getting out of autonomy mode is I've seen people that are getting a little bit older. They're kind of just doing their thing. And it feels like they've kind of been living in autopilot for the last like 20 years. And I'm just like, oof, man, like, I don't really want to do that. And I've also met particularly teachers, actually. Those are the ones, in my opinion, that hold on to this the best. If they keep learning, they are very focused and they're constantly learning and doing new things. And I'm like, yes, like, that's what I want to be. Like, I want to be able to do that. I want to be reading. I want to be learning and growing and doing weird stuff. Like, just exploring new parts of behavior and science and all this fun stuff. Like, yeah. So anyway, I'm just trying to build this habit now when I have a little bit more capability of it, when I'm more free, I guess. By far the most, hold on a second. Like, literally the most frustrating part about this has been brushing my teeth. I guess it's like the most habitual thing I do in a day, but I am so bad at it left-handed. It is awful. And that goes in well with the third and final thing that I'm trying to teach my brain how to do better, and that is grit, or determination. Like being okay with being bad at something, and just like the grit to push through that and to continue to learn and push. And that's kind of what I've been trying to teach myself. And like, seriously, if you don't believe me, just try it. I'm like moving all kinds of stuff, trying to like, it just doesn't work. And it's so frustrating, but it's like, am I going to stick with this or not? Like, and even just in that small little thing every day. And I'm a pretty firm believer in that frustration is a part of the learning experience. Like, whenever we learn something new, frustration is always a part of that, because if you're not experiencing frustration, then it's not difficult. And if it's not difficult, then anybody can pretty much learn how to do it. And so there's always some level of frustration, and you have to learn how to push through that. You have to have that determination. I feel so uncoordinated when I do anything left-handed. And that is, okay, so like I play a lot of sports, and like coordination is like huge for me. Like I have to be able to be coordinated and timing and all this stuff. And so when all of that is gone, I just feel like a flopping fish or something. It's awful. So even that is just teaching me to to be better and to be more determined when learning something. And it's good because, like, for example, I'm training a particular skill set in a sport that I'm learning, and it's repetition over and over and over and over, even when I'm tired, even when I'm hurting or whatever. So yeah, I don't know if this is having an effect on that or not. I think it might be a little bit, but that's kind of like the mindset I'm trying to teach myself. But it's seriously like it is so frustrating. Oh, hate it.
So what's the science behind it?
It's a great question. It's just teaching my brain to be more adaptable. See if I can learn a new skill like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, you don't have to go as extreme as me. Obviously, this was wildly inefficient in some aspects of normal life, like running a computer. Oh my word, that was like so frustrating. But at the end of the day, I effectively taught my brain, at least a little bit, how to better function outside of the autonomy mode, and how to adapt better, and how to learn and switch between those, and also just how to do hard things. My life can tend to get kind of comfortable. It just, most people's do. And so doing something like this kind of like forces you outside of that. And so I definitely learned grit through this as well. I also definitely think that one day was enough for now. Although I might try it here and there, just with, brushing my teeth or certain practices, because it is a really, really good reminder. If, stretching your mind and learning new skills and pushing yourself, or watching maybe the human guinea pig, interests you in any way, shape, or form, then I'd encourage you to subscribe to my channel. That's mostly what we do here. It's like, hey, what happens if I take 6 hours and just read a book in one sitting? Literally, like, what happens? Is that possible? Like, can I actually do this? It's like, I don't know, let's just take an afternoon and try it. Like, that's the kind of stuff we do around here, and it's really fun, and I don't know, I learn lots of cool stuff and try to share them with you guys. So again, if that interests you, then I'd encourage you to subscribe and follow along and see what other kind of crazy stuff we get into.